Right. With that, I pass the floor to you, Dr. Dancy.
Okay, I'm ready.
Gentle reminder to all to mute your audio if not you're not speaking.
Okay. Good day, everyone. Welcome to Responsible Youth Leader Seminar 2021. The event is co-organized by Sarawak Research Society, Southeast Asia Research Academy, and Emerald Publishing. It is supported by the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture and Ministry of Youth and Sports, Sarawak, UCSI University, and RCE Kuching. I would like to welcome everyone all. I will be the moderator of the day. My name is Dainty. I just work with a World Health Organization as a project coordinator in malaria elimination and vector-borne disease control program. So my background is medicine. But currently I finished my master in public management from Victoria University of Wellington from New Zealand. So I'm also a young scholar who work with other social research. So let us move on to the agenda of the seminar. The agenda, it's start with the welcoming by me, moderator, and then it will follow by opening speech. And then there will be the introductions of the three speakers. And then the topic one would start with the internet never forgets, getting the most out of digital technologies without the unwanted distractions and perils. The topic 2 will be about responsibility towards nature, youth, and environmental sustainability. The topic 3 is about responsible travel and community engagement. So the Q&A sessions will come only after the presentation of the three speakers. So following that, there will be the announcements of the Emerald Young Research Awards for 2021. And the next is the concluding remarks and the announcements of the Responsible Youth Leader Awards 2021. And then the seminar will close by the closing remark by me. So before starting the seminar, I would like to make some announcement. So regarding the materials, all the slides and recorded video will be made available on the Sarawak Youth Talent Facebook page within 1 week. And then the slides will also sent to the participants next Monday through email. And about the question and answer sessions, we would like to announce everyone to be asked throughout the event through the chat box. Because of due to the time constraints, we cannot ask every questions, but we will cover the majority of the concerns that everyone want to ask. And the certificates will be given to every participant within 1 week through the email. So there will also be the feedback survey form for everyone to fill. So there will be another window pop up at the end of the seminar, so everyone can fill the survey form. And then the link will also send to everyone together with the materials and the certificate as well. Next, please. This is the welcoming speech by YB Datuk Abdul Karim Rahim Hamzab. And this is he is the Minister of the Tourism, Art, He is the Minister of the Tourism, and he can't attend the seminar by himself, so he just sent us the pre-recorded opening speech. So please.
A very good morning from Kuching, the city of unity and the capital of the state of Sarawak. I'm Dato' Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, the Minister of the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture, and the Minister of Youth and Sport, Sarawak. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome all of you, especially the young people from all over the world, to join the Responsible Youth Leader Seminar today. Although the current pandemic crisis has seemingly halted travel and events, I'm grateful to see you all on a virtual platform and say a few words as my opening remark to this event. I'm impressed by the design of this seminar, the number of countries involved in this event, and the diverse young people here with us. I see a much brighter future for our world of tomorrow when our youth put their minds and hands together, such as coming together to share about responsible citizenship and the role of youth to make a real impact on our society today. I believe many of you will soon be standing on the national, regional, as well as international platform, occupying important positions of your state or countries and making crucial decisions for the betterment of the society and the future generation. I may be a minister, a leader today, but I'm sure that tomorrow will be much better taken care of because of your visions, your beliefs, the right choices you make today, and your responsible action. 2020 has been a challenging year for all of us. 2021 will be no exception. The pandemic crisis has caused far-ranging social, economic, and geopolitical implications to all industries, including tourism and education sectors. These challenges may be daunting, but if we remain prudent and open to one another in the spirit of trust and solidarity, we will see possibilities and opportunities. Whatever the issue is and whatever we have to confront, leadership is pivotal to success. Just think about the tremendous progress we have experienced over the last 2 decades, where technology and innovation change how we live and work, how we obtain goods and services, and how we communicate with each other. What about the unresolved conundrums in your countries and the ongoing issues in your communities? Can we play a role and make a positive impact on the society? I'm sure we can. And I believe there has not been a time when the world is in desperate need of collective efforts, where we pool our resources together, including our knowledge, our innovation, and our commitment, and take trust as the new currency. This is why I find this Responsible Youth Leaders Seminar very timely and significant. Dear young people, whoever and wherever you are, it is never too young or too early to make a difference to your own lives and the lives of others. Learn as much as you can today and stay connected to others. Individually, we are one drop, but together we are an ocean. You do not have to aspire to be the fittest. Be adaptive and be willing to work with others. take on the challenges ahead of you. If the latent power in you is unleashed together with a great sense of responsibility, be it through small instances, when you make responsible decisions, or through momentous events, when you take a stand for others and for what is right, your youth will become purposeful. You will rewrite your history and you will become a beacon of hope to your family, the community, and even the human race. To conclude, I would like to express my gratitude to Sarawak Research Society, Emerald Publishing, and Southeast Asia Research Academy, UCSI University, and RCE Kuching for organizing such an event and getting 3 resource speakers from Malaysia, Taiwan, and Australia to speak to you all. It is my sincere wish that this forum will be meaningful and rewarding to you. I also hope that such an event would be organized again, virtually or physically. Personally, I would like to welcome all of you to Sarawak when traveling is much safer in future. Until that day comes, let us live in the moment and enjoy our time at the forum together. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister YB Abdul, for your wonderful opening speech. So let us now move on to the introduction of the 3 speakers. The first speaker is Mr. Dan Fadalinin Sukia. He is the Director of the Cybersecurity and Management Services Division, Sarawak Information System, Malaysia. He has been over 15 years of broad experience in all technology industry, and he is now currently helping government agencies and organizations to be more secure and resilient in an increasing risky digital environment. He has a lot of qualification in the cybersecurity and IT industry. So let us introduce the next speaker. Dr. Anya Pibble. She is the lecturer from Central Queensland University in Australia. She is a lecturer in tourism, and also she researched in tourist behavior, marine tourism, and other tourism sustainability and human research. She completed her bachelor degree and a PhD in James Cook University in Australia. And she also acts as a editorial board member, and also she published papers in tourism journals. And then last speaker is Mr. Daniel Chang. He is the founder and president of the Redefined Tourism Mixer Taiwan, which is the biggest community of the travel startups and tourism tech entrepreneurs in Taiwan. And he is taking a leading role in advocating technology innovation in Taiwan travel industry and aims at building up an RTM school in the long term. So these all are the brief introduction of our great speakers. So I would like to request Mr. Dan Fadalinin Sukia to present about the internet never forgets, getting the most out of digital technology without the unwanted distraction and perils. But please be reminded that I would like to make a kind announcement that the time allowance is 20 minutes for each speaker, and I would like to make a quick reminder for the 2 minutes remaining time to make a quick wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Dainty. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you, wherever you are. Now, going straight forward here, in year 2013, I think, a senior director of corporate communications by the name of Justine Sacco was just about to board her flight to Africa. And then she decided to drop a tweet, which says here, going to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding, I'm white. Obviously, soon after that, she got fired from her large multinational company called IAC. Fast forward in 2019, a math teacher called Lauren Miranda was fired from her job, apparently because one of her topless selfies was leaked to students. And unfortunately, the school that she was working in decided that she's no longer a role model. And obviously, this is America. She decided to sue for discrimination. I'm not too sure what happened to that. Closer to home, not long after a particular tragedy that happened to a fireman in one incident in Malaysia. Hang on, give me a second. In Malaysia, and this particular, I think, salesperson called Karine from one of the Honda dealership in Malaysia and KL did post something quite inappropriate. And of course, soon after that, she was let go by her company. Quite unfortunate. But in case you haven't caught it already by now, obviously, in case you're wondering, of course, the boss cares what you say on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and whatever social media platforms out there. And by that, let me introduce myself again. My name is Dan. And as how Dr. Dainty has introduced me earlier, I have been in the technology space for the past 15 years. And I've worked with multinationals and local companies. But while I'm quite proud of that, I also would like to also say why I'm quite eligible to speak this morning is because of my personal experiences where in the past I myself have been hacked. My Facebook account has been hacked. Even my bank account was hacked, where all my money was taken away. So I do have a first-hand experience when it comes to cybersecurity and security of the digital space overall. Now, the topic for today is the internet never forgets. I think that's a mouthful actually, but it says a lot. What I'm really trying to do here is to make sure that all of you, and I believe a lot of you are leaders in your own space, a lot of you are intellects, and I think it's nothing unfamiliar to you. What I'm really trying to do here, guys, is to help you to exploit the digital technologies that are already in your hands, or probably the stuff that you already use, but without all the distractions, without the shortcomings and the gaps that you may face. I'm not here to bash technology. I'm not here to bash social media and all that, but I just want to say that a lot of us really just want to achieve the goals in our lives, right? Whatever that goals may be. And admittingly, most, if not all of us right now, right here, right today, are already using those mechanisms, those technology that either exist in your computers or in your mobile devices, whatnot, right? So we can't run away from it. In fact, if, for example, this pandemic occurred 20 years back, none of this would have been possible. This virtual conference would have been difficult, it would have been slow, and would have been impossible for most people due to the lack of internet reach, especially where we come from in Southeast Asia. In fact, if it happens 20 years ago, most of us would probably be lying on our backs and playing Snake on our Nokia 3310, right? Now, jokes aside, what I'm trying to achieve here, guys, friends, is that I will be sharing 3 recommendations or more of like reminders or recommendations on how to go about this digital space. And then I will end my presentation by giving you some key call to action so that you can contribute to a better world, especially the digital world. If you can see from the diagrams here, this is something relevant to Malaysia, but I think it resonates across most geographical areas and governments and countries, where if you look at Malaysia, our total population in 2020 is 32.16 million. But believe it or not, there are more phones than people, right? There are more phones than there are people in Malaysia. And there are 26 million internet users. And this is what I want to highlight here. There are about 26 million out of that 26.69 million internet users are active social media users. So my first recommendation here would be, number one, to watch closely your steps on social media. I think hopefully you remember how I started off this presentation, that everything has a potential impact to your real life, whatever you do online. Now, social media is huge. I think you can read this statistic yourself, but in general, anybody who's online, anybody who's using mobile devices are actively engaging in social media, right? So watch closely your steps on social media. Let me move on a bit more. I think a lot of us here, a lot of you who are participating in this particular forum or virtual conference are what we consider as youth, right? Compared to a lot of us who are older, you guys are a lot more exposed than ever. You are more exposed to scams, cyberbullying, wow, trolling, online shaming, sexual harassment, fake news, and other high-risk behaviors that exist in this digital space. So it's a lot more risky to your generation, but that's why it's important for us to take a step back and really think. Really think, guys, before you share. And surprisingly, a lot of you don't know that whatever you post online is out of your hands the moment you post it. Let me repeat it again. Whatever you post online is out of your hands the moment you post it. Even though you think you've deleted it, you'll be surprised how long the shelf life of your tweet or your post or your like or your dislikes. Think about it from the butterfly effect, where even your simple like or simple agreement or disagreement online that you had years ago may come back and haunt you in ways that you do not want to, in terms of your job, in terms of your relationships, financially. So the list is endless. But I like to just go straight to the point here about what we just mentioned earlier about social media. I think at the heart of it, a lot of us need to manage our emotional attachment to it. Why? Because a lot of us find it really hard to manage with our egos. So we use platforms such as this because we think that the world's listening, right? So it's really a platform for a lot of us. To a lot of us, as a platform of ego. So that's why I'd like to recommend to not take it too personally, or in fact, don't take it personally at all. In fact, it's more beneficial for you if you don't do that. Do so. If none of that makes sense, if none of that is gonna, you don't believe it, or you don't think that it's gonna really impact you or alter your behavior, I really encourage you to ask yourselves whenever or before you post or put some kind of feedback online, ask yourself, do you want to be right, or is it important for you to be right, or you just want to be happy? Ask yourself that. Now, the second recommendation here, it's very close to the heart of my profession right now as a cybersecurity practitioner. Recommendation number 2 says practice zero trust on cybersecurity and your data privacy. And in cybersecurity practice, there's this thing called zero trust, where, well, as what it says, we just don't trust anybody or anything or any source or any channel, be it our own employees, our own family, or especially people from outside. But this is especially true for where all of you are in terms of your digital space, because especially in social media, remember that you live in a value exchange world where really nothing is free, where a lot of people don't realize that all your Facebook posts, your pictures that you put online are never really yours. And therefore, privacy settings aren't going to save you. Think of those times when, even though you disable your location tracking on your phone, that somehow, somewhere, Google knows where you are. Google knows which restaurant you've been, which pub you've been, or whether or not you complied with your SOP in this current period of time. So yes, remember that. I like to bring this one up because a lot of us think that, hey, I'm too boring to be tracked. I'm no Kim Kardashian. I'm not, Blackpink or any famous people out there. But I just want to remind you that all of us, every single one of us, as long as we engage in the digital world, we leave breadcrumbs of analytics everywhere. And why do I say that? Ask yourself, right? Do you have a credit card? Do you shop online? Do you do internet banking? Or in fact, do you have family members who are digitally connected? So unfortunately, guys, you're not too boring to be tracked. You're like a mine, a gold mine of information that they can curate and come up with answers about your behaviors and so on and so forth. Right. When we talk about leaving breadcrumbs of analytics everywhere, one very good example was the case of Cambridge Analytica. Some of you have probably read about this, but all these behaviors that was being mined a few years back, and this is 2016, 2015, it was enough to be mined by this particular organization and then used on social media platforms to alter certain decision makings, either elections and so on and so forth. So don't underestimate yourself, even though you don't think you're famous. And coming from cybersecurity, I just want to remind all of you, even if you're not aware about it, practice this thing called cyber hygiene, right? What is it? Use strong passwords, update your software regularly, install security patches, refresh hardware, even though you still love keeping your iPhone 4. I think it's time for you to get rid of it. Manage access control. And this is super important now because a lot of the applications that you use are cloud-based, and the frontline defense to all your information, your data, and your privacy is now dependent on your passwords or on your access control because of your dependence on cloud applications and systems. Use a virtual private network whenever necessary. When everything fails, please back up your important data. And finally, be cyber knowledgeable. Get in touch, get to know what's going on out there, and don't be ignorant. And recommendation number 3, take control of your smart device in your hands. I think its technology has become very pervasive, has become very familiar to all of us. I think we've forgotten that it is one of the most powerful thing that resides in your hand, but it can also change you fundamentally. In fact, coming from a cybersecurity practice, your phone or your smart devices is one of cybersecurity's biggest headache, because it is really the entry point for a lot of privacy issues, data leaks, and so on and so forth. So remember to take control of your smart devices. This is again statistic for Malaysia, like what I've shown in the previous slides earlier. Just by looking at all these numbers, these are the things that we engage ourselves in our devices. We use it to communicate, to entertain, to buy things, to even build relationships. So how do we draw the line? So that's why it leads to this point where I just want to encourage everybody to think about your digital well-being. All right, think about your digital well-being. How much are you really using your devices? Like, look at these 3 components here. First, evaluate your digital diet. How much digital are you consuming? How much are you relating to other people as compared to your devices? And then you move on to the next step, where you ask and raise self-awareness by asking yourself a few questions, like how much time am I really spending on my phone? In fact, in some operating systems, you can actually check your digital well-being and see how much screen time you've been giving yourself, and think about how much of that impact to your daily life. And finally, curate your feeds, because really, I don't think everybody needs to watch 10 Instagram videos of cats or dogs, right? Decide what's important for you and what's meaningful to you, all right? And then I think I've said all these 3 recommendations. That's why I think it's important for me to go to the next point, where I'm going to encourage everybody to answer the call to action here. The reason why I'm here and the reason why I am in my current profession, and in fact, why I'm here presenting to you, is because I really want to have a safe and a better world for everyone. And that implies to both our physical and digital world. And it is increasingly coming together where, whatever you do in the digital world has real impact and tangible impact to your real life. So I really want to encourage everybody to really think about this moving forward. Now, the first call to action, of course, is to be responsible, accountable, trustworthy individuals that are part of this digital world. Now, every digital activities, there's a person, right? I mean, you may say and argue that it's all bots and automated, but a human had to initiate that. I just want to remind everybody, just don't be that villain yourself, inadvertently, without realizing it. And even if you're not the villain, don't empower cyberbullies, trollers, by replying or engaging them. And most important of all for this particular call to action is report abuse and stop it. I'm sure you've seen those functions and features in all the social media and your digital platforms. When you see abuse, do something about it. A call to action number 2, be demanding about the digital platforms that you are using. A lot of us, myself included, guilty about not reading the fine prints and the terms and conditions. Please do, and reach out if you're not too sure. And think before you click. It's too easy to just click the next button. It's such an evil button that most people don't know about, but always think before you click. Now, if all else fails, if there's no response, there's no sufficient answer given to you, I recommend you to stop using it. I put WhatsApp here is not saying that you should stop using WhatsApp, but I think there's a recent movement that a lot of people are migrating away from WhatsApp because of this new term and condition that they've applied recently or about to apply that are not agreeable to a lot of people's privacy needs. So think about it. And of course, and finally, always remember, guys, the internet never forgets. Thank you very much. Over back to you, Dr. Dainty.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. It was really an insightful for everyone, because this time the protection and the cyberbullying and the cybersecurity is an alarming condition for everyone. So it's applicable to everyone. Thank you very much. So the next is the topic about the responsibility towards nature, youth, and environmental sustainability. I would like to invite Dr. Anya Pabal to present on the topic.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dainty, and hello to everyone. It's great to be here to talk on a very important topic, so responsibility towards nature, and more specifically the role of young people in and environmental sustainability. So my name is Anya. I'm a lecturer in tourism at Central Queensland University, and that particular university actually has 16 different campuses all over Australia. And while you guys may have heard of places like Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, a lot of people are always like, Cairns? Where's Cairns? So I'm located on the Cairns campus. So if we just go to the next slide, I'll show you where Cairns is. So here you've got a little map of Australia. And so I'm located on the East Coast, literally an hour away from the beautiful Great Barrier Reef. And Cairns is just, yeah, where you can see that big red arrow. It's a very special place to me, and I consider the Great Barrier Reef my recreational playground. So it's where I go scuba diving and snorkeling and, you know, walk on the beautiful islands that the GBR has to offer. So next slide. So I guess you already get a feel of how passionate I am about the natural environment, but I thought let's remind ourselves why nature is actually worth protecting. And so coming a bit from that academic background, I do a lot of readings and research into the areas of environmental psychology, tourism sustainability, and deep ecology. And I would like to introduce you to 3 different terms. The first one is attention restoration theory. So this theory actually states that nature provides us with the best opportunities to actually restore our very busy minds. And I'd like to quote Dan. So he just said something really particular. He says, you can't run away from technology. So just, you know, think about your day-to-day lives, you know, how busy we are with school and work and university and how we are always connected to technology. But then at the end of the day, if we can go for a walk through a local park, or we can actually maybe live close to a national park and visit that national park, it gives us that opportunity to just explore, restore, and be fascinated. Then there is the biophilia hypothesis, and that basically states that humans are they have an emotional affiliation to the natural environment. So nature actually helps us to survive and to thrive. And so you got a picture here of me scuba diving with a turtle on the Great Barrier Reef, and you know, I really treasure those experiences. And maybe you have had your own nature-based experiences. You know, maybe you swam with the dolphins, maybe you went on a safari somewhere and you actually felt that emotional connection to another living organism. And so this theory essentially states again that nature allows us to feel at peace and to just feel content. So it's again, you know, quite powerful. And last but not least, there is nature actually helping us to treat nature deficit disorder. That actually sounds like a medical term, but I don't think it's intended to be a medical term. What is happening here is that there's increasing levels of urbanization, where half of this planet's population is already living in urban areas. And what this is doing is it's removing us from the outdoors. We're moving indoors. We're feeling actually quite disconnected from nature. And so hopefully when we have some recreational time during our holidays, during our weekends, we actually take the opportunity to disconnect from technology, if I might say so. So there's no internet following us, and to just, you know, have a good time in nature and just really appreciate the amazing place that we live in. Next slide, please. And obviously, climate change has a huge impact on the natural environment, on environmental sustainability, but obviously it has not stopped for coronavirus. Just recently here in Australia, the Climate Council has released their latest report, and obviously some very eye-opening statistics. The last 2 years were a period of unprecedented fire events, killer heat, powerful cyclones, and devastating floods. And so obviously those events, they have a huge impact on the natural environment, but also to human lives, to young people. And I guess there's never been a better time to actually get more proactive about environmental sustainability. Just in terms of costs, just cost to the Australian economy in the last decade, so the period between 2010 and 2019, those extreme weather events have cost the Australian economy $35 billion. And just looking into the future, by 2038, climate change is expecting to cost the Australian economy around $100 billion every year. So like I said, never been a better time to actually get on board. Next slide, please. So I also thought it's important to talk about the concept of environmental citizenship, which is the individual's responsibility to work towards environmental sustainability. And a very important part here is that of environmental education, to develop sustainable and environmental citizens. So it's about making young people aware of what is their role in society and what is their obligation towards the natural environment. But there's a very interesting quote here by Hobson, And Hobson stated that environmental citizenship may not necessarily be a state that we just achieve, but it's rather something that is strongly influenced and, may I say, even constrained by our contextual factors. So sometimes we find ourselves in certain contextual circumstances that don't allow us to be environmentally friendly. So you may want to cycle to work, you may want to cycle to university, but you find that there's not sufficient bicycle lanes provided in your local area. And obviously it's quite dangerous to ride your bike along a freeway or highway. Or you might want to recycle, but maybe your local council doesn't put in place the necessary infrastructure for you to do that, or even your financial situation sometimes. You may want to purchase those more environmentally friendly options or book an environmentally friendly holiday, but obviously those things sometimes come with an increased price tag, and it may not be possible. So definitely environmental choices are influenced by factors such as identity, your own values. Is it important for you to be environmentally friendly? Your habits. Yeah, we buy a lot, we consume a lot. Can we actually change our habits to buy less, consume less? And like I said before, government services and finances. So it's important for local governments, national governments, international governments to actually play their part in all of this. Next slide, please. So essentially what I'm boiling down to here is everybody plays a very important part. So it requires bold action from all levels of government, businesses, the local community, and individuals, particularly in reaching those very noble targets of actually going net zero emissions by 2050. So a lot of governments have committed to be achieving this goal of net zero emissions by 2050. And obviously, to be able to achieve that, you need to set smaller targets along the way. So maybe by 2025, where would we like to be? By 2030, by 2040. And having those smaller targets in place actually ensures that, you have a checkpoint, you know exactly what you're aiming to do, and it's also making the governments accountable. Then there is the business community. They obviously also play a very important part in providing environmental protection through their own leadership. And I'll show you an example of one of my favorite Great Barrier Reef tourism operators later on. And individuals themselves, they obviously have a very important role to play in consuming less and wasting less. So it all goes back to our own habits and values. Next slide, please. So here's Passions of Paradise. So Passions of Paradise is one of those businesses that I really regard to play their part in reducing carbon emissions and lowering their impact on the marine environment. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite tourism operators when I go out to the Great Barrier Reef. And so they are advanced ecotourism certified. So what that means here in Australia, if an tourism operator decides to get eco-certified, it just means that they are really proactive about minimizing the impact on the natural environment, and they are really proactive in just doing the best. What does that mean for the customer? For the tourists, it means that they actually get a very high quality nature-based tourism experience that includes a lot of education and interpretation. So by the time they leave the boat, they have actually learned some interesting facts about the Great Barrier Reef. They are also certified as climate action leaders. And again, what that means is that they are really trying to address issues to do with climate change. They're trying to reduce their carbon footprint. And so weather permitting, they will actually turn off their engines and hoist up their sail and actually just use the renewable energy source of wind. And they do various other activities like biodegradable packaging. No solid waste is just dumped overboard. It's all returned to shore. They discourage their customers from wearing sun lotion, but actually encourage them to wear a wetsuit to actually protect themselves from sun or other like marine animals. So they really play their part. Next slide, please, William. Thank you. So let's talk a little bit more in detail about young people and their role in protecting the natural environment. And so when I started having a look and Googling and seeing what's out there, I was quite overwhelmed at how engaged young people already are when it comes to environmental sustainability. And obviously there has been a lot of research done into this space. So 84% of young people actually agree that they need more information to prevent climate change. So I guess that goes back to the importance of environmental education to be able to create those environmental citizens. So people need to know what they can do, how they can do it to actually turn something into action. Also, 89% of youth respondents say that young people can make a difference on climate change. So you find that young people actually quite, positive. And you see that they're already doing a lot. They're key actors in raising awareness, running educational programs, promoting sustainable lifestyles. They're trying to conserve nature, support renewable energy, and adopt environmentally friendly practices. And so you may actually know the faces of those two young ladies that I chose to insert in this slide. The bottom picture is Greta Thunberg. She is a climate activist from Sweden, and she started that whole movement around school strike for climate, where she's encouraging people to actually, I guess, not go to school, but instead, have a campaign and raise awareness with their national governments around the importance of climate change. So she has a huge following on social media. And the top picture is Vanessa Nakate. She is a climate justice activist from Uganda, and she's also doing really important work and actually raising awareness of climate change in her local communities. So again, local people are already out there doing a lot of great stuff and supporting a lot of great campaigns. Next slide, please. So while we're on the topic of great people, of great young people doing great campaigns, there's actually an environment program by the United Nations, and they award the Young Champions of the Earth award on a yearly basis. And here you've got the faces of the young people that received this award in 2020. And so when you just read under their images, the different campaigns or the different activities they're actually supporting. So it's anything to do with waste management, cleaning up areas, clean access to water, also harvesting value from agricultural waste. So you see, it can actually be just a small scale program that is important to their local communities, or it can be even a larger scale program that will actually maybe get some real international support and international traction. And hopefully some policymakers and national leaders will become aware of such programs and support the efforts of all those young people. Next slide, please. So more on the role of young people in actually promoting responsible tourism. So again, a lot of research has been done on this area, and millennials or Generation Y, it is said they actually offer to be a key market for responsible tourism, because I guess they want to make a contribution to protecting a wildlife species or have this close connection with the local community. So they may be more inclined to actually stay in a homestay rather than in a luxurious hotel. So they may actually participate in a citizen science day or in conservation volunteering, planting some trees. And I mean, there's a lot of interesting programs out there. They increasingly demand those sustainable holidays. I read some really interesting articles the other day on vegan tourism. So I guess it's again that younger clientele that's actually driving the demand towards more sustainable choices. And they're also curious and conscious travelers. So for them, it's all about making those more moral and ethical choices. Next slide, please. And while we're on the topic of tourism, here's a really good example of ecotourism in association with coral reef restoration. This example is not actually here on the Great Barrier Reef. It's in Koh Tao in Thailand. And what it boils down to is that coral reef restoration is actually quite important for restoring the physical or biological integrity of coral reefs, but it is actually quite costly. It's costly in terms of money, it's costly in terms of time and labor. So what better way we have here to actually activate a volunteer workforce and getting them involved? And it's mostly young people that participate in such programs. And so here are some activities that they may actually be involved in. So image number A is 2 volunteers actually transplanting coral fragments on the restoration side, or image number B, they are volunteers trying to transport a concrete structure to the actual restoration site. And then image number C or D is the maintaining of the metal structures that they actually use to grow those coral fragments. So again, you can see young people quite involved here in the efforts to protect coral reefs. Next slide, please. Going back here to Cairns, or a more local example here in Queensland, COTS, the COTS traineeship. Just in case you've never heard of COTS, COTS is actually a crown of thorn starfish, and if you look at the bottom picture on the left, you have an image of a crown of thorn starfish. So they're actually quite big as a starfish, around 30 to 35 centimeters in size, and they are considered a pest because they actually prey on the hard coral. They eat the hard coral, and so they need to be removed. So you can either remove them, take them back on the boat, take them back on the mainland and destroy them, or you can inject them with vinegar or some other poison that will actually kill them. But what it does, that it builds the resilience of the reef, any reef, not just the Great Barrier Reef, by removing those COTS. And so here is a traineeship that is actually funded by the Queensland government. It is delivered in participation with the reef tourism industry, and it targets young people who are either unemployed or underemployed in the age group of 18 to 24. And it takes those young people, it gives them experience and qualification. So it trains them how to scuba dive, and it also allows them to gain some experience on those COTS control vessels and on reef tourism operators. So in the end, they actually go out and work in the reef tourism industry. So it's very successful. But this is essentially hitting that sweet spot where you have governments, industry, and young people come together. And I think it's quite powerful if you can take young people who are underemployed or unemployed, and you give them the right education, the right knowledge, the right skills to really have a contribution to environmental sustainability. So yeah, quite powerful. Next slide, please, William. Thank you. So in conclusion, what can young people do? I guess be part of the solution. So join one of the many environmental groups that are out there. Again, I was overwhelmed when I actually started Googling what young people can do, what efforts they can join. There's fundraising, there's tree planting initiatives, there is lots of different programs out there all over the world. Try and be part of that, and you might actually make some real great friends. And also try and be an environmental citizen. Climate change is something that impacts all of us. If it's not impacting you already, it's bound to impact you in the future. And nevertheless, we humans as a species, we still produce too much, and we still consume too much. So it's important to learn about climate change, to educate ourselves about climate change. What can we do to actually reduce our own footprint, our own carbon footprint? Next slide, please. So that's just the references. Again, it's an academic presentation, isn't it? Next slide. I'd like to thank you for your attention. More than happy to answer any of your questions. And if anybody is interested in coral reefs, particularly from a tourism or conservation or management point of view, there is actually a book that was co-edited by Professor Bruce Bordeaux and myself, published in 2018. Might be a really good read if you're actually interested in this topic. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Dr. Anya, for your colorful presentation. And it's really good to give the important notice that every citizen of the world is responsible for the environmental sustainability. And then the power of the youth in your presentation is really empowering for everyone. And so every youth in this seminar will be happy to listen to your presentation. So let us move on to the next speaker. So the topic, last but not least, the topic number 3 is the responsible travel and community engagement by Mr. Daniel Chen. So I would like to invite Mr. Daniel to present on the topic.
Hello. Okay. My name is Daniel. I'm from Taiwan. I'm the founder and the president of RTM, Redefined Tourism Mixer. This is an organization initially for travel startups and some new travel companies back in 2014. And so we are entrepreneur community originally in Taipei. And later on, we found that if we want to redefine tourism industry, we cannot only rely on the channels, technologies, or the companies in the city. Dig in the local places to find more good contents and to introduce those good contents to the people from the world. And so we start exploring the very local places and very like countryside areas. And so today I want to share one real case. This is the other like startup idea for my team in southern Taiwan. What we practice responsible travel spirit and how we engage community and how we redefine industry by redefining young people leadership in the countryside area. Next slide, please. So I actually prepare a lot of pictures. There might be some efforts for William to switch the slide. This is Da Pong Bay. It's a lagoon located in Pingtung County. That's the farmost county in southern Taiwan. And I just want to show you some image of the local area. Next slide, please. So as you can see, this is the place where people can really, join water activities, canoeing, SUP, etc. Next slide. And it's the other island, out of Taiwan, but it's only 20 minutes by boat. It's called Liuqiu. This is one of the very famous snorkeling location in Taiwan. Next, please. So what gets it popular, it's because of a lot of sea turtles that every snorkeling tourist can see the sea turtle every time. So the water quality is very good. And also because of all those sea turtles, it attracts a lot of tourists from not only domestic, but also the international. Next, please. And the other township is called Donggang. It's famous for seafood because it's a harbor. Next, please. And in this town, Donggang, it also has a very good reputation for its religion. So every 3 years, it has a festival where in the end of the festival, they burn a paper boat to kind of like worship their god. Next, please. It's called a bell fruit. So this is one of the very like high valued, high price fruits in Taiwan. It's welcomed by a lot of people, and this is one of the very important economy source for Linbian Township. Next, please. In Linbian, it's also famous for its aquaculture. So a lot of fish pool where local people really earn money by feeding the fish and sell the fish out to different countries. Next, please. So it's the real map of Taiwan. Next, please. So we put all those 4 places all together, Donggang as a harbor, Dapeng Bay as a lagoon, Linbian as a wetland, and Liuqiu as an island together, and we has a name. It's called Bihou, and in Chinese it's called Da Xiao Gang Bian. It's a quite chic name for people to remember it. So we want to redefine these all localities all together by a new brand. Next, please. From the pictures that I just showed, we could actually manage all of those local elements together as 2 elements. One is fish, one is water. And as you can see, we have very good business in terms of tourism, in terms of aquaculture or some agriculture. We sell our products and earn money. But like all other countryside villages in Taiwan, young people left the village, and there's only elderly people and only very kids, children stay in the village. So the manpower is kind of taken out, and all those villages, they face a very severe problem of future development, not because of the economy, because it has good business, but because of the good talents and good thoughts for developing the local areas in the right way. Next, please. Yeah, next, please. Okay, so our brand is called Fish Forests in this Bihou area. We have connected ourselves with the local community. So we have to understand their need. And also we have a very good tradition and very good industry that we have to understand their know-how. And then we are good at travel. So after combining all those elements into some travel package, we can introduce local cultures and local contents to the visitors with right curation and with right perspective of fulfilling local people's need. Next, please. So basically, in local areas, in the countryside areas, there are only old people and children. So we're doing the contrary way. We attract young people from the city into the countryside. So it's a converse way of human flow. What we want to demonstrate is that young people should take leadership in making changes happen in the countryside, so that we can prove that in the future generations, young people can not only seek job opportunities in the city, but also they could have their stage in the countryside. And countryside has a lot more than the city to offer for the young people. So these 3 girls are my lovely colleagues. One of them is a designer, one of them is a tour planner, one of them is a marketing planner. They are all very versatile. They are all very energetic, very active in their career, but they choose a different path. They choose to stay in the countryside with me. It sounds boring, but it's actually very fun. Next, please. So in the very beginning, we kind of create some new travel experiences. For example, this one is called crab fishing. It's the childhood memory of the people. They use that stick and with the fishing line to catch a crab in the sea. That's only the memory in the past, but we kind of revitalize it into a tour product. So it has a price, and we actually recruit a local father to be the trainer and to be the guide for this experience. So we create a new job for this community, and also we make these childhood memory into a product that could be shared with all other tourists. Next, please. Right. So this is the tour guide that we trained. He is retired, but we trained him to be the guide. So he finds himself very valuable after retirement because of this job. Next, please. All right. So this is also the local cuisine that we talked to the local ladies, and for these ladies and wives to offer their recipe to us. So we make it also into a tour product for people to learn how to, do a dumpling with the local cuisines and local recipe. Next, please. So this is the local lady that we work with. Next, please. Okay. Because the slide changing might take some seconds, so I will just continue with my introduction. And then William, you can just, keep changing the slide afterwards. So this is the fish cooking and fish managing DIY experience that we created. So we learn from those fish workers, and we teach people, how to correctly manage and kill the fish, and for them to understand, the whole industry behind the table. Next, please. And so one of my colleagues, she learned from, the local people and be our fishing managing teacher. So she never imagined that her career would be like this. Like she's working as a, fish fish cook and fish teacher. Next, please. And also, this is a traditional tool, traditional chair. It's handmade, and it's actually tied by the fishing line. So in the middle picture, this old man, he's a retired captain of the boat. And also we recruited him, we learned from him for this traditional skills, so that he feels quite valuable of himself as a retired elderly, because he can pass on the tradition to the tourists. Next, please. Okay. So this is the fishing pool that we bring our guests into the fishing pool. So when the pool is cleaned, there are some fishing just hiding behind some water and hiding in some holes. So traditionally, fishermen have to catch those fishes out of those holes when they are hiding. And this is one of the works they have to do in the past. But for now, we bring people into the fishing pool and experience their life, experience their works, so they understand how fishing works look like. And also when they catch the fish, it's their harvest. Next, please. So this is the fish bowl that we teach people how to make. Next, please. So we bring people into the fishing pool and also listen to the stories of the fishermen. So William, please just continue the slides. And when you continue, I'll just introduce, because there are a lot of pictures. Non-stop continuing. Thank you. The night market in the harbor. And so that the people really know that usually they eat the fish on the table. That's beautiful. That's well cooked. But when they go into the night market of the fish trading, they will understand like how dirty but how hardworking those fishermen have to work for those good dishes on the table. And also we work with some local fishermen. We buy their ingredients, and then we make these ingredients into some creative fusion cuisines, and we decorate the whole environment to make it a very nice, very beautiful dining environment, so the tourists, they can really like taste the fresh flavors of the local ingredients. And also we will tell them stories that they understand like how Fishing Village looks like, and enjoy the whole atmosphere. So this is the experience we created. In the past, people only sell fishes. They don't know how to make their package and products high value. But for now, we package them, design them to increase the value, so that people would understand the real value of the products. And also for the local people, they feel this is something to add on points for them. So they will treasure their lifestyle. They will treasure their works, unlike before. So as you can see, in terms of the travel professionalism, we know how to create tour products for the consumers, but also at the same time, in order to practice the responsible travel, we are not only doing travel business thing, we have to engage community with connecting to more local people. So we start visiting more elderly people, we start writing down their stories, we start collecting information of those history and the local culture thing of the village, and we put them online, so that more and more people will understand how small village, how countryside areas could be rebuilt, could be branding. Okay, so all the way to the end, those pictures that we just want to share with you, that these are the very ordinary fishermen. And in the past, they feel like their villages are dying. And after they retire, they don't want to do it anymore. They don't want their children to do it anymore. That's the traditional mindset, for local people. But because of our travel product creation, because of our online marketing, because of a promotion, and because of our young team connecting with all these old people, they feel it's a new start for their life. It's a new start for this place. So that we in total actually give them this kind of hope that they want to do their jobs even better, and they welcome more attention from the market, and they want to share with their children that their jobs are something very important, very meaningful. So their children are willing to take over their jobs after their parents, their grandparents retired. So this is the perspective and thinking change that we really make for the countryside. And at the same time, as a young team, we also have to expand our scale. So apart from connecting with the local people, we also connect with a lot more youngsters, from local places and also from the city, so that we tell them a different choice of their career. Okay, I think my time is almost up. And lastly, I want to share with you, because of coronavirus, a lot of international travel, outbound or inbound, are stopped. So the travel industry in everywhere looks, very tough at this moment. But actually, doing destination management and destination marketing, on the other hand, will become a trend because of the coronavirus. When people cannot move freely, they start to looking for somewhere to stay longer. So we have a staycation or a holiday term. And because of the staycation and this new trend, we find that coronavirus actually give this kind of countryside or like small places with beautiful contents more opportunities to develop themselves and to tell their stories. So when the world is slowing down, I would like to share with the young people, we should slow ourselves down because we can have more options to really stay longer and discover deeper in the destination. And those places could define a totally different travel industry and totally different travel pattern in the future. So this is my story. We have our young people based in the fish water places in Taiwan, Pingdong. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel. That was such a knowledgeable presentation. And thank you for sharing your innovative ideas to promote the tourism, local community, and the local economy. And then we got the idea that young people are able to make a better change. So thank you all the speakers. Now we are going to create Q&A sessions. So just to make an announcement again that due to the time constraint, we cannot ask every question, but we compile every questions and to cover all the participants' concerns. So I would like to ask the first question to Mr. Dan. The question is, how can we manage our activities in a more responsible way when technology dominates us everywhere? Also, what is the implication to the third world countries where many are still not or less educated? Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Dainty, and thanks to that person who's asking that question. Very, very good question. I think we all can accept the fact that we can't run away from technology. It's both cool and horrific at the same time. But I think coming back to answer your question, I think a lot of solutions out there are reactive. But what I really recommend you or anyone in this particular forum should do would be more of a preventive kind of measure. Well, what do I mean by that? Especially for social media or digital content, as I mentioned in my earlier presentation, you need to spend time to curate your flow of information. Decide what kind of information that's important and meaningful to you. Again, to take another step further with regards to how do we deal with the flooding of information, or should I say, how do we deal with this information life, digital life, is that you need to be more self-aware about what you're doing in this digital space, what you are consuming, what you are installing. So let's keep it really simple here. What I really mean here is you need to ask yourself, before you install an app, for example, what value do you get out of it? You know, what kind of benefit, what kind of positive outcome are you expecting out of it? And then, of course, to be fair, then ask yourself, what kind of risk are you taking when you install these applications, when you jump into this platform? Most of us don't spend a second to install a lot of those apps that come your way or being recommended to you. But I think by just spending a few seconds of your life to think, what value does this have for me, and what risk do I have to take? I think it will save you a lot of hassle, because when it comes to reactionary type of activities where you have to install data management, you have to install privacy apps, those are reactive. I mean, by then, most of the time it's too late, right? And then I think you have a very good point when you talk about third world implications. Like all things, there's always good and bad, right? There's good implications, so and also bad ones. So I'm just going to talk about the bad ones that many of you don't really know about. In a lot of countries, in some countries in Africa, I think what's happening now, technology is taking quite a exploitative or predatory role to a certain extent. Why am I saying that? Is because if you have not read it already somewhere, that there's this prevalence of all this what we call the payday loan apps, where you can install certain apps to apply certain loans, and just in a few minutes you get money flowing into your bank. That's amazing. But what happens is that you get interest rates up to 140% of what you initially borrowed. I mean, if you never had money before that, you don't have 140% after that, right? In 2 weeks time. So if you don't pay for it, they will harass you, they will do public shaming and threaten you to go to some kind of credit bureau. So that's on the bad side, where we have a lot of opportunistic parties coming in to take advantage of digital technologies, right? On the good side, obviously, because of digital technologies or mobile technologies, cloud, education is a bit more seamless. It's now global. Students over there can learn easily, provided you have the infrastructure, of course. And then not to mention, of course, businesses, young people, like a lot of us here, over there, it opens up a lot of opportunities for startups to come up with great ideas that will create value to the community and society. So that's the good side of things. So if you're asking me, how do we solve it? I think even how modern the society is, there's still going to be victims of irresponsible users. But I think we can step in by taking it on a personal level, where you really have to have the awareness. You really have to ask those questions yourself. Second thing, of course, finally, of course, governments, they need to be really proactive when it comes to the laws and regulations, when it comes to the implication of, let's say, for example, how technology is making financial services easier, for example, and really design laws that can help address and protect the citizens. So I hope that answers your question.
So thank you very much, Mr. Dan, for your answer. And the next questions go to Dr. Anya. The question is that the advancement of technology, such as flights and smartphones, has inevitably caused more harms to the nature and produced more waste. Although all these technological products are important, do you think we have done enough to minimize all the negative effects? Can the youth be taught about responsibility while they are born with technology around them?
Very good question, very good points. Where to start? Look, I sometimes wonder about built-in redundancies where, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago you purchased a washing machine and the washing machine would actually last for 10 years. This day and age, you buy a washing machine and you can be lucky if it lasts for more than 3 years. And same with the smartphones. And obviously there's always the need or the trend to have the latest one. So I've got the S10, and I've been recently told by a friend, oh my God, S10, isn't S20 already out there? Well, probably is, but that doesn't mean, look, the hardware probably still works. And so I sometimes wonder, if we just download maybe a new pair of software, is that software still going to allow us to use the system? And Dan is probably in a better position to answer such questions. And yeah, I'm sure that trend to always have the latest technology creates a huge environmental impact, because most of the time, if these things are not recycled appropriately, they end up in landfill or they end up being dumped in the ocean. Hopefully not, fingers crossed. But I mean, it needs to be absorbed somewhere, and most of the time it's absorbed by the natural environment, which is probably not good. And on the point of the aircraft, well, I guess it depends on where you are living as well. So I'm originally from Germany. And if I wanted to go, say, to Paris, it's easy for me to not choose an aircraft. It's easy for me to hop in the train, because the train network in Europe works quite well. It's well connected and it runs on time. Whereas here in Australia, I would never take the train anywhere I go, because it's, you know, there's maybe a bit more work that needs to go into train infrastructure. But also asking yourself, is there an alternative you can take to a flight? If you need to fly, try to use a direct flight. Also, a lot of airlines in this day and age, they offer carbon offsetting programs. So every time I try and book a flight from Qantas with Qantas from Australia to Germany, obviously huge environmental footprint, but most of my family still live in Germany, so I would never not go to Germany to see my family, but obviously I'll try and reduce that carbon footprint. And so Qantas always offers me with the opportunity, would you like to offset the carbons that you're actually creating through this flight? And most of the time I actually go for it, but that's another story. How do we encourage more customers to actually go for those carbon offsetting programs? So the airline then uses that money, the funds they're generating, to plant a tree somewhere or to invest more money in renewable energy sources. And last but not least, future technology. So look, in the future, I'm sure we already have electric cars right now. We already have hybrid cars right now. You know, maybe technological advances will actually allow us to have electrical aircraft or aircraft that work on a hybrid kind of technology, a hybrid kind of way. And of course, there's biofuels. So instead of using aviation fuels like kerosene, there are some aircrafts that are already investing heavily in biofuels, which are actually sourced in different ways and are a lot more environmentally friendly. So I guess only the future will be able to, find the answer to all of those questions. But I'd like to think that those technological advances will actually also equate to less environmental footprint. And obviously the role of youth in all of this cannot be underestimated, you know, as they go out and learn about technological advances and what can be done to minimize impact on the environment. I mean, it all comes into play. And I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Dr. Anya, for your answer. And the next question is to Mr. Daniel. The question is, should we approach the local government to revive dying countrysides? They seem to have their own agenda. Or should we do it ourselves and only seek help from the non-profit organizations? Many young people here might not be willing to do that if there is no strong support from the local government or organizations. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Governments play a very important role in revitalizing local community countryside areas because they have the massive resources that local community would need. For example, some local communities, their need would be, I have to revamp this environment, making it, better quality for people to live. I want to change my business model, so I need some sponsorship or I need some loans. And there are a lot of important, huge projects that only the governments are able to support because there is no big company in countryside. So
And excuse me, Mr. Daniel, we can't hear you right now.
And the second thing, I would say, young people can not only choose to work in countryside, young people can actually choose to work everywhere. So I always tell young people one very important perspective, that you don't need to feel that you give up your city life in order to get into countryside life. You can actually live in the city and the countryside both at the same time. You can actually plan out your schedule for some days in the countryside, in the villages, and some days in the city, because there are resources in both sides. We cannot give up any one of them, because as a young leader, we have a lot of potential to develop different career path and different business achievements in the upcoming time. So there is a rule called two-place rule, that two-house rule or two-place rule, that you can live in the city, work in the countryside, or you can live in the countryside, work in the city. You just need to plan your schedule and need to control your time agenda, and by train, by airplane, or by driving, you can choose to create values for yourself in different environments. So for the young people, they don't need to feel like this is something so tough or so hard to change the place they contribute to. Last but not least, I would say, because of COVID-19, the destination management is really something for the future trend. Like in the past, when people can fly, across different nations, they can do the outbound or inbound business, do the trading. In the past, the pattern would be you expand your business, you expand your life circle as wide, as big as possible. That will give you opportunities. But because of coronavirus, that pattern no longer exists. We have to dig deeper into one place. We have to try to manage the resources in one destination. When we have enough resources, when we have enough connections in one destination, you will stand out in the coming time, because people would choose to do something more sustainable, longer, and they choose to travel or do the business in a totally different pattern. So I would encourage young people to really try to settle down in some destinations and put efforts into it to make it a future career. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. So we still have some time to ask for the question. So I'll go for the second round again. So this question again to Mr. Dan. The question is that there are so many fake news nowadays about virtually everything. Some create them, but many spread them. As a responsible citizen, is there anything we can do to stop the spreading? It seems that the young people today have the habit to share whatever they like online, and they like to be the first who do that. Thank you.
Thanks. Great question there. Although I disagree a bit, because I think the aunties and the uncles are the bigger culprits here. I tend to get a lot more fake news from my more senior relatives, apparently. That's beside the point. What I want to say here is, yeah, fake news has been, or should I say, continues to be such a huge problem for every segment where it exists, really. So much so that governments have come up with fake news laws. I think in Malaysia, right, we've got new laws on fake news. How do we regulate fake news, and so on and so forth. Well, the short and simple answer to that would be, I don't think there's any way to truly contain it. Simply because I think the root of all fake news is, lazy people. You receive news and you don't spend time verifying the authenticity of that information or that data, right? or it could be driven by algorithms or mechanisms. We're not too sure. But how do we respond to this? There's always that human, human factor, government and technology. Now, on the technology side, I believe there are technologies being developed right now to understand and to track the metadata of those fake news. So they could be sooner than later ways for those kind of fake news or information to be filtered even before you receive them. I think to a certain extent, WhatsApp already has that. For individuals, as I said earlier, I think you can't run away from doing your responsible action where you need to check before you share if you care to read in the first place. Some people don't even bother reading it. And finally, governments, I think, there's so much control that you can put in, there's so much awareness activities and campaign that you put in. But in the end, I think there has to be some kind of, what do you call it, action that needs to be taken by governments to ensure that, there has to be, citizens needs to be reminded that there is some, that you need to be careful what you say. Then you need to be careful what you share, because there are always, as I said earlier in my presentation, implications to what you do in the digital space that can translate into, really bad things on a physical space. Did I say that correctly? Yeah, a digital affecting or impacting the physical space. We've seen that more often than not. So I hope I answered that question, Doctor.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. So the next question is to Dr. Anya again. The question is that, what do you think about increasing the responsibility behavior towards nature? Coral reefs are an important source of tourism for many destinations. However, considering coral reefs as a tourism activity will put the ecosystem under threat in the future. How can we explain that tourism activities for tourists are not only for recreation opportunities, but should be for preservation and conservation of the ecosystem? Is it possible that tourism is not just about recreation? Thank you.
Another very good question. Look, I think the role of the tourism operator that takes the tourists out to the Great Barrier Reef cannot be underestimated here. So again, it goes back to the importance of having educational programs and interpretation in place to really educate some of the tourists, some of who it may be the first time that they actually have an experience in the ocean. Like I'm always surprised when I go out on the boat and it's really the first time that people have an experience in the open water, and the weird stuff that goes on in their mind when they actually go diving or go snorkeling, am I going to be eaten by a shark and whatnot. So the role of education by the tourism operator cannot be underestimated. So them actually saying, look, when we're going down there, please don't touch anything, please don't take anything. If you're not a strong swimmer and you feel the need to actually stand on the coral, maybe you can actually take a pool noodle or some other buoyancy device that helps you stay afloat while you're snorkeling. So there's definitely ways to minimize the direct impact of humans on the Great Barrier Reef. But other than that, and so obviously there's Great Barrier Reef is a huge ecosystem, and there's so many smaller tourism operators that go out there, and obviously most of the time the tourism operators, they will want to look after their site and to really ensure that that they minimize impacts on the coral, so it actually looks just as great as it looks today, and it will look just the same way tomorrow. Apart from those human or individual impacts, I reckon larger impacts is those from climate change. So anything to do with rising sea temperature. Coral is only susceptible to so many increases in temperature, but also ocean acidification. So the ocean absorbs a lot of the carbon out of the atmosphere, makes it a lot more acidic. A lot of the calcifying coral organisms do not cope with more acidic water quite well. So ocean acidification, rising sea temperature, rising then you have COTS, obviously, the crown, the starfish outbreaks. They create a lot of issues. So I guess tackling those larger issues that a lot of the global reefs are facing are going to be much more important to tackle than those individual impacts that you can have when you just go and have a great experience out on the Great Barrier Reef. And hopefully you'll learn a lot about the reef, being part of such recreational experiences. So hopefully you'll actually take knowledge away with you.
Thank you for your answer, Dr. Anya. So the next question is to Mr. Daniel. The question is that, how can we encourage the local community as well as the local government to launch programs like what you just presented? The local community is poorer region, can be difficult to persuade, but what you did is amazing, and that would definitely help promote tourism, local products, and also conserve the rich culture and tradition. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. First of all, I have to say, travel tourism is not a good business because of its low margin and low efficiency. And so doing travel might not be a good business, but it could be a very good marketing or PR. Because when you are hosting a tour or when you are organizing an event, an experience in countryside, those participants would feel impressive. They would give you appreciation. They would share the stories, the contents with you, with the other friends. So that is a good marketing, good PR, but it's not a good business for money. So I would say in order to encourage the countryside to do something amazing, first of all, we have to be financially steady. We have to find a good job that would feed us, that would earn money for us, or we can try to find some local, I would say, agriculture or some local store businesses that is profitable first, and then tourism. Secondly, responsible travel is not only for the environment and the culture, but more importantly for human and economy. So again, when we're doing travel products or some new creation, first of all, we have to think about money. We have to think about if local people have benefits out of it because of what we do. Okay, so being very practical and trying to fulfill the needs of the local people, of your neighbors, that would be something you can run a sustainable travel business in countryside. And third one, talking about the government, actually government will not help you if you are not good enough, if you are unable yet to survive. Government won't give you any sponsorship, any resources. Government only give money to those people who are successful or those winners. Okay, so before contacting government, we have to try to be strong first, and we have to have some achievements first that are obvious enough, and then strategically we have to stay good relationship with the government. So in some occasions we proactively voice out, we proactively have the communication with the government for advice giving or for judging the government's behaviors, etc. Anyway, we have many methods to let government notice us. All right, so when they notice us, they give attention to us, and we're strong enough, believe me, the sponsorship and the resources will follow. Okay, so that's my experience. Hope it helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel, for your answer. So we are pleased to see more than 400 young participants joining us today. So the video will be made available to many more young people in a week's time. So before ending the Q&A session, I would like to ask all the speakers that if you would give one piece of advice to the young people out there in the context of COVID-19 and movement restrictions, what would it be? Thank you.
Who's starting first?
In the context of COVID-19, is it? Look, I'm going to talk from a tourism perspective here. Just because international borders are still closed, there is probably a lot of great things that you can do in your backyard. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to call the Great Barrier Reef my backyard, but I'm sure there's some other great experiences that you can still be part of. And yeah, still engage in responsible tourism experiences and yeah, have your positive impact on the environment.
Yeah, I'm very envious of Dr. Anya, having the Great Barrier Reef as your, amazing. But yeah, coming from the digital side, I guess COVID has practically fast-forwarded digitalization to most countries by 5, 10, maybe even 15 years, right? So my only advice is, whatever I've told you earlier, multiply that by 5, 10, like put more effort in ensuring that your life will be a peaceful one, that you become a contributor to the digital society rather than being a villain. All right, that's all I can say. Thanks.
Okay, because COVID-19 stops us from traveling, and many young people might think that it's also okay if I cannot travel. It's okay, it's good. It's good to stay home. It's good to stick to domestic news, domestic information, and all those things that you've been familiar with. It's good. Never think that. Okay, don't think it's enough, because the world is still running. The world is still changing. So open your eyes, open your ears, try to understand what other countries and what the world is thinking and changing after the closure. You will find that it's a totally new world. So work very hard and don't think it's enough. It's never enough.
Okay. This is the end of the Q&A session. So I would like to once thank again all the 3 speakers for your answers. And I would like to thank all the participants for your active participation in the Q&A session. So let us move on to the next agenda. So this time is the announcement of the Emerald Young Research Award for 2021. I would like to invite Mr. William Low, who is the Business Manager, Emerald Publishing of the East Asia.
Right. Good morning to all. Thank you, Dr. Denki. Hi, everyone. I'm William from Emerald Publishing. Today, I'm just going to share with you an announcement about Emerald Young Researcher Award 2021. Now, what is Emerald Young Research Award? Emerald Young Research Award is a regional award that actually caters, that offers to young researchers, young leaders, young authors in the so-called East Asia and New Asian Tiger regions to actually apply and actually celebrate the research that actually matters to the society. The research award is actually open from this month onwards, 1st January until the end of 30th September. The eligibility are basically either you are citizens or you're currently doing research on the following countries right here. And also there is an age limit which is not more than 35 years old at the time of submission. For more of these information, you can actually find more about that in the link at the below here. So I will just quickly go through that. There are some judging criteria that actually have to meet that. Examples, you have to be either study or work in the countries that actually mentioned in the previous slide. the research is actually important. It's actually where we wanted to see the originality and the contributions in your research, in the practice, and where it actually impact the societies or the community concerned. We're also looking forward to any publications that has been published in Emerald journals, and also some recommendation letter from the from relevant or notable individual. Example, your supervisor, your dean, faculties, your professors, and so on. All right. I'll not go too much on this. You can have more information about this in the link, as I mentioned over here. But I would like to actually emphasize now what is this research is all about. To actually echo to all the speakers of today, is actually very motivating and very, very encouraging to listen to all the speakers. And over here, I just wanted to echo to each and every of the speakers' point, which is that your research or your contributions as a young researcher, as a young leader, really matters to the governance of the day, to our community, to our society, to our corporate and industry players of the day itself. That is actually why this award is actually born in our annual publishing itself. This is actually where we would like to see, that is actually like to get more people to aware about the impact that has been made, the success of it, and example about the process and the success that shared by Dr. Anya. And all these things we would like to actually get young leaders, young researchers to see, to feel, and to actually be part of all these real impact. And we hope to have a better future for the younger generations, for the generations to come, right? So basically that would be all this research is all about. There will be 5 winners in total, regardless of fields, either you are in medicals or in tourism, business or management, or even accounting as well. Certificate of achievement will be awarded to the winners, a small token of USD $200 per winner. Names and also your affiliations will be posted on Emerald webpage and social media, and also a personalized Emerald shirt itself. So you can actually find out more about this in our link, as I mentioned over here. So this is the webpage that you'll be seeing that. And the timeline is that the submissions window is starting from right now until the end of September. We're going to use a 2-month period of time for our judges to actually process these submissions. And we hope to also announce the winners by in the month of December itself. All right. For more information, please contact our Madam Rosita, our regional marketing manager from the Emerald Publishing itself. With that, I will thank you to the committee of the day. I wish everyone all the best, and I'll pass the floor back to Dr. Denki. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. William, for your announcement on the Emerald Young Researcher Award. So the next is a concluding word and the announcements of the Responsible Youth Leader Awards by Dr. Harrington, who is the chairman of the Sarawak Research Society and associate professor of UCSR University in Malaysia and the ambassador of Emerald Publishing in East Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Denki. I would just like to say thank you to all the speakers today, Dr. Anya, Mr. Dan, and Mr. Daniel, for sparing your time, out of your busy schedule to speak to all the young people today. I would have hoped to see all of you in person in Sarawak, but well, the technology is here to stay, so we can at least meet online. And I'm also grateful for having more than 400 participants online with us in this seminar. I would just like to say a few words. Mr. Dan talks about responsibility towards using technology Dr. Anya spoke about responsibility towards nature or the environment. And Mr. Daniel talks about responsibility towards local community. So this is something all of us can definitely do today. I know it sounds like a cliche, we are never too young, it is never too early to do things, but we have to let these words sink in a little bit. Despite our youth, there are so much we can do. I always like a quote. I don't know who said it, but Google tells me so. And that is, we may not be able to do great things, but we can do many small things in a great way. And it has to begin with us. It has to begin from our backyard. So we can all take responsibility of our actions, decisions we make today, to improve ourselves and to benefit our families and our community. And also, I would like to echo what YB Dato said at the beginning, especially during these times of uncertainty. We have to rise above the occasion, learn more, be open to one another, be open to work with one another in order to be more resilient, in order to be prepared for the future. We can definitely be responsible with our decisions, our actions today, and all of us here have a very important role to make this happen collectively. Now, I would just want to spend a few minutes to talk about the award. So if you can change to the next slide. This is about Responsible Youth Leader Award. The announcement, the instructions will be made available soon in March. So please stay tuned. Please like Sarawak Youth Talent Facebook page and also Responsible Tourism Management Facebook page, as well as on the other side, you have Sarawak Research Society Facebook group and also Southeast Asia Research Academy Facebook page. So this is the pages, the group where we will make announcement about Responsible Youth Leader Award 2021 in March. Okay, so please visit these pages. We hope many of you out there would join this so-called competition, and we hope we will be able to do it every year. And we definitely like to hear from all of you, your stories, success or failures, how we learn, how we pick up ourselves, how we become more resilient. So this is something we can do together to support, to encourage, to move forward. Finally, there will be another event this afternoon. I will also encourage you to join if time allows. JRTM Forum, inaugural publication of Journal of Responsible Tourism Management. Today, this afternoon, 2:30 to 4:30 GMT +8. It will be held both physically and online. So for all of you out there, we hope that you could visit the Facebook page of Responsible Tourism Management. The whole event will be live streamed. You will be able to watch the event live. 7 papers are published, but only 5 papers will be presented. So all these papers are projected on the screen on the right side. So again, like I said, there is so much to learn. Like what Daniel said at the end of his presentation, we should never be settled. It's never enough. There is so much to learn, and I guess this is one of the responsibilities we have to have today, to continue with learning, unlearning, relearning. And this afternoon, this forum will be another platform for that. With that, thank you so much. Thank you for joining this event. Back to you, Dr. Denti.
Thank you, Dr. Harim, for your beautiful concluding words. And informations on the awards. So here we come to the final moment of the seminar. So before ending the seminar, I would like to repeat the announcement again. The videos will be available on the Facebook page within a week, and then the video will also be sent to each of the participants through email within a week, and then the certificate will also delivered to each emails of the participant. So please don't forget to support us by giving feedback so that we can do a better preparation for next seminars. So like Dr. Harem said before, there will be a pop-up window. It will so you can answer the survey questions. And even though the session, the webinar ends, you can still access to that and you can still answer the questions. So please support us. So I hereby announce that Responsible Youth Leader Seminar for 2021 is successfully finished. Thank you everyone for joining, and all have a good day. Hope to see you again.
Thank you, Dr. Denti.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for
Bye for
joining the
now.
event.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care. Bye-bye.
Right. I'm going to end the webinar, and the survey feedback form will ship out right now. All right. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.